Hello, everyone, and happy Saturday. Welcome to Candid Conversations with Kay, Renee, and I. Hello, and hope that wherever you are, your Saturday is going well. Your weather is as beautiful as it is here in Oklahoma. Somehow, the Oklahoma gods did not hear that it is fall. So we're going to be in the 80s this a few times. Kay, Renee, how are you?
Maybe in Oklahoma is in the 80s, but here in the Chi-Town is not
Uh,
80 degrees. Fall
what
is
is it in my
definitely
home city? What is it?
it
What are they
is in
doing?
the 40s. It may get up to 50 and it's supposed to be starting to rain tomorrow and
Okay.
Monday. So for those who are in the Chicagoland area, y'all enjoy today cuz the next couple days y'all might want to stay in the house.
Well, it's still
Just
the
saying.
best city. It's still the best city in the world. Last weekend, I happened to be in New York
New
City.
York.
Had a
Yes.
great time. This time I really got to experience New York as a tourist. I went to the Metropolitan Opera to see Fire in My Bones. It is the first opera that was composed by a Black composer. If you're
I
familiar
love
with
it.
Terrence Blanchard, who works on a lot of Spike Lee's movies. And it was also by the first director. She is a Black female, and I'm sorry I don't have her name. For those of you who can, today is the last showing at the Metropolitan Opera in New York, but they are going to stream it at many theaters around the country. The tickets are $25, but let me just say this, it is well worth it. I mean, the story and the beautiful music. There is a scene in there, Kay, Charles Blow, who is based on his life, where he played as Kappa at Grambling University. So
Oh.
all of these men, I don't think they're Kappas, they come out and do a step show.
Oh wow.
And they
Cool.
bring the house down. And for many of us who went to college, even if
Yes.
we didn't go to HBCUs, we remember the step shows with the Kappas
Oh
and the
heck
Alphas
yeah.
and the
And the
but for many,
Q's and
yeah,
the
the kid,
Sigmas.
right. But for
Let's
many of
call them
our white,
all.
right, for many of our white counterparts, they never saw this or just saw it in passing.
Right.
And they were just, it just brought the house down. So that's worth the ticket right there.
Wow.
So if you get a chance, go. I forgot to ask you, Kay Renee, how are you today? I'm sorry, I'm talking.
That's okay. No. I'm good. It's another week that's down and we're about to close out October because we won't be on next week. But
Yes.
again, we want to just pay recognition for this month for Kim Hirschman as well as Elder Payne, who came on to honor, or I shouldn't say honor, but to bring awareness to breast cancer awareness with Ms. Kim Hirschman and also Elder Payne with domestic violence. So, November is going to be a very interesting month as well as a holiday month. So, all is good. Even though,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about this episode today is honoring a man whom I know both of us would have loved to have met. I said I would have had the opportunity to meet him. I would have.
Yeah.
Thankfully we have a school in Madison within the south suburbs of
Mm-hmm.
Illinois. It's named
Mm-hmm.
after him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but and we have a special guest talking about this gentleman, and so even though we've lost a lot of people this week, and of course, before I even get started, let me just extend my condolences to you and your family because your beloved uncle is now with the ancestors who made his
Mm-hmm.
transition. So I'm giving you a big hug right
Thank
now.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Um, Unfortunately, you shared with me in the green room that he transitioned due to COVID. Ladies and gents, make no mistake, this virus is real. If you thought it wasn't real, you ask the families of over
Mm.
750,000 Americans who have lost their lives to COVID. So, make no mistake about that. Whatever you decide to do, all in all, please be safe.
Right. And I honor and thank you for honoring my uncle Eugene, Reverend Uncle Eugene Lawson. Yeah, he was some kind of pastor. Um, But let me just tell you this. If you go to New York and you don't have your vaccination card, you might as well just turn on around because let me tell you something. Before you go to the opera, I went to see a Broadway show. I also recommend going to see To Kill a Mockingbird. Before you go into any restaurant, whether it's a dive or not, you must show your vaccination card. I went to the famous Juniors. Some of you all saw the big cheese cake that I had a wonderful pastrami Reuben sandwich. And I walked in, it was two women in front of me, two Caucasian women, and they must have had fake vaccination cards because they didn't have the dosage, which I didn't even notice that they had that on the card. And the man said, "You cannot come in here." Miss Kim showed her card and walked right into the zone. I said, "I didn't realize I had privilege. I didn't know that I had privilege." But everywhere I went, they asked for that card. I went to Harvard. Don't go to New York and don't have that card. We lost an icon, a lady who inspired me, the lady who was in Black Panther.
The
And what
elder
was her name?
stateswoman, Miss
Yes,
Dorothy Steele. She is
yes.
truly not with the ancestors, not only our ancestors, but our famous ancestor, Chadwick Boseman, who transitioned this week at the age of 95.
Right?
So and interestingly enough, Miss Steele was in the middle of filming
Oh,
Black Panther
really?
2. Yes,
Is
when
she?
she
Okay.
transitioned. So I'm sure she's going to when the movie airs, we will see her in her last role. Yes.
She inspired me. She
Wow.
inspired me to go into acting because I was
Wow.
very hesitant. And I saw her on Steve Harvey
Okay.
at 90 entering to the acting field. And I was like, why not? Let's also give condolences, and I don't have their names, the people who died on the set of the movie that Alec Baldwin was involved
Rust
in.
and Rust. Yes,
Rust.
the
That is such
cinematographer.
a tragic story
And
all
see,
around.
and this is just remnants of what happened with Brandon Lee, who was the son of
Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee in The Crow. I mean, I when I heard that, I said I remember when that news broke, and
Mm-hmm.
so the cinematographer who was in the prime of her life and just a
Right,
rising star, and
right.
as well as the director who is still in the hospital recovering from
Mm-hmm.
the gunshot wound. It just makes you
Mm-hmm.
wonder. Now I'm about to put my auditor hat on right now. Things of that nature. When you have props, you have to make sure they are working efficiently and making sure if
Oh,
you have a gun with blanks, damn it, make sure the blanks are in there because
well,
that can have some
it.
detriment consequences.
I know people are pro gun, and I'm Second Amendment, but we got to do guns. It's not. Well, that's another show. So, condolences to that family. Hopefully, the director, we're praying for him that he pulls through, and pray for the whoever the person was that gave Alec Baldwin the gun. It was a mistake, I'm assuming, and also pray for Alec
Alec Baldwin,
Baldwin. He is
because
one of my favorite actors. He is one of my favorite actors, and he has to live with that for the rest of his days.
that's
So
right.
that I think that's all the news that we have. Oh,
No,
wait a
there's
minute,
one
wait a minute.
more. There's one more, and
Congratulations to the Chicago Sky.
oh heck
Congratulations to the Chicago
yeah,
Sky,
yes,
who
yes,
won the
our
WNBA
NBA.
championship this week.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, yes.
congratulations,
Candace
Candace
Parker
Parker
and her
and the whole crew.
ladies, they
Yes,
rocked it. And to
yes,
have them, the rally was here in Chicago earlier in the week.
right.
They did the parade from the Wintrust Arena all the way down to the Pritzker Pavilion near Millennium Park, and you know how we do when we win championships. We don't do it small. We do it grandioso. And
Yeah, I
so
saw it.
I'm just
I saw
really
it.
proud of our Lady Sky, who
Yes,
brought home a title.
congratulations.
So congratulations to them. And then we would be remiss, we also want to mention condolences to Peter Scolari, who recently
Mm-hmm,
transitioned of a 2-year battle of cancer. And for those who
mm-hmm,
don't remember Peter Scolari, excuse me,
mm-hmm.
he starred in the
Bosom buddies.
ABC comedy series with Tom Hanks. Bosom
Mm-hmm,
Buddies also was in Newhart.
mm-hmm.
So, we just, you never know, ladies and gents, when your time is. So you just have to live life with purpose, passion, and a lot of praise.
Have fun. Have
That
fun.
too.
Have fun. Go to Juilliard, like our next guest who is coming
Oh
up.
my goodness.
Anything
Yes.
else? Anything else?
No, I mean, the reason why we're here today, this morning, is to honor a man who really needs no introduction. But for those who don't know, earlier this week, the 4-star General Colin Powell made his transition at the age of 84 due to complications of COVID, along with he suffered from multiple myeloma, and we found out that he had Parkinson's disease. But General Powell was not just a 4-star general. He was the first African American Secretary of State. He was a national security advisor. He served under 4 presidents. And just, he will tell you he was just a boy. His parents were immigrants of Jamaica, but he leaves behind such a legacy of honor, of integrity, of leadership. We're going to talk about that. But, our special guest, another needs no introduction. I call her Big Sis. But for those of you who don't know, retired Captain Gail Harris of the United States Navy. Love her to life, and we're gonna kind of have this candid conversation on General Colin Powell and what he meant to her as in her military career. Welcome, Gail.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
And I just want to say for those who have been asking, because I watch CNN 24 hours a day. Yes, I do. And for those of you who've been asking me, his funeral will be at the National Cathedral on November 5th. It is a private ceremony. I'm sure will be aired on TV. It is invitation only. So people have been asking me, like I know the Powell family, but yes, I do watch CNN all day. So it'll be on November 5th at the National Cathedral. So
So welcome,
welcome,
Gail.
Captain Gale.
Welcome. And Kim, I'd like to add my condolences to Karen to the passing of your uncle.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to let Karen lead this conversation and ask our esteemed guest some questions about the late, who, by the way, just as a side note, I had a very major crush on Colin Powell. Okay,
Who
he
didn't?
was very handsome.
Who
He
didn't?
was.
Okay, but the thing about it, Miss Alma wasn't playing that. Now let's
I
keep
know,
keep it
but
real. She, you
I
can
know.
have a crush on Colin Powell, but Alma give you that side eye. So, all right, now,
And I believe they were married for
keep your
50,
distance.
60 years.
No, they were married close to 60 years, 59
60 years.
years. So yes, so
But he was
but
handsome.
yeah, yes he was, and we're gonna lead about that with you, Captain Gale. But I call you Big Sis because you my big sis. Um, how had General Powell inspired you? Because you have an illustrious career of yourself, and excellence breeds excellence. Let me just state that really clear. But how did Colin Powell inspire you to really just be the best that you could be, especially when you had your career in the military?
Well, everybody is familiar with his, 10 leadership rules, but for those of us that were in the intelligence profession, he gave the best, most concise guidance to how we could support the warfighter. He said, tell me what you know, tell me what you don't know, and tell me what is the significance of that. And, a lot of people think they don't understand that intelligence is an art, it's not a science. You might have a lot of technical tools to help you figure it out. But the bottom line, you're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together and figure out what's going on in a situation. And not all of the information you collect is equal. Like some information might be flawed, or maybe it's right 30% of the time, or maybe you don't have anything else that backs it up. Maybe you haven't gotten anything on a particular topic for a month, and then you get one piece of information, and you have to figure out, oh, okay, is this accurate or is this not? Should I ignore it? And then you have to go back and find everything that you have and put it all together. And Colin Powell understood that, because it's easy to make a mistake in advising the warfighter. They want to know, okay, we're sending an aircraft carrier through the into the Persian Gulf, and we've noticed as it's going through the Straits of Hormuz that we have all of these Iranian ships, aircraft, and even submarines coming out to check it out. Are they going to attack us?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to let them know. And whether you think, nah, I think they're just gonna just see what you're doing. They're
Mm-hmm.
probably not gonna attack you, or yes, be on alert or something. So I mean, you're not talking about casual. If you make a mistake, there are no ramifications. If you make a mistake in your analysis,
Mm-hmm.
then you have a situation such as what happened to General Colin Powell in 2003, when
Expound on that. Expound on
yeah,
that, Gail.
the thing I the thing that one of the problems I have with the way the media covered Iraq, both in 2003 and after, and the comments about General Powell and his role in that, was that they say it out of context. And what most Americans are not aware of, because it wasn't covered in the mainstream media, was the first Gulf War never ended. Because Saddam did not abide by the ceasefire terms, we had UN sanctions against him, and there was a major military presence. We had on the American side also some of our allies, but on the American side, we had one aircraft carrier and usually one marine amphibious ready group in the Persian Gulf constantly. And, and we did combat related information operations. Me, geek, in September 1996, Operation Desert Strike, we launched 12 cruise missiles against surface to air missile sites in command and control. And the most significant one happened in 1998 under the Clinton administration. And as I recall, the trigger, and I was involved in this, the trigger was when Saddam kicked the UN inspectors out. So we did Operation Desert Fox, and we aimed it at the suspected WMD sites and command and control of Iraq's military facilities. And on just the first day, we launched 280 cruise missiles against 100 suspected WMD sites. And
Wow.
after that attack, the Clinton administration announced, because Saddam had kicked the UN inspectors out, we no longer had feet on the ground. And then also the intelligence collection apparatus was, satellites and things like that were designed during the Cold War toward a Cold War threat. So
Mm.
because of these issues, we would no longer have an idea of what Saddam was and was not doing with his WMD program. And so I had gotten out of the military at the end of 2001. And when I saw the decision in 2003 to go boots on the ground, that was the only thing we didn't do. We didn't have troops on the ground. We had troops surrounding
Mm.
Iraq, like in Kuwait and so forth. And, you know, when they said WMD, I said, nah, I remember watching the news, shaking my head, CNN, Kim. I said, no, I said, I would use the fact, I said, the public isn't aware of what we've been doing and the amount of force we had dedicated toward this effort. So I often wondered, because of 9/11 and the new focus on terrorism, I said,
Mm-hmm.
we got to stop this. We're putting too much effort. Let's just knock him out. And oftentimes when you have a new administration, they either, and I don't think it's always deliberate, don't necessarily give credit to the previous administration. So when no WMD was found, I often wonder, was it because the efforts of the Clinton administration were more effective than what was generally known or acknowledged? And
Well,
so those are my thoughts. And I think that's important. If you're going to bring up General Powell's role in that, you need to put it into context. It's not like he woke up one morning and said, I'm going to encourage the world to join us in taking Saddam out.
Right.
That's not how it works. And I think the CIA has the role of being the primary intelligence support for the president and the Secretary of State. Military intelligence, we support the military. So I I don't know, the role. I've talked with the CIA and how they handle, when presenting information. And they say the ones that I talked to said their role when they're briefing uh, the senior leadership is they just lay the groundwork, say here's what's happening. They don't make recommendations. On the military side, just because of the nature of military operations, and oftentimes you're supporting tactical operations, you will sometimes say, I don't recommend you do this operation this way because of A, B, and C. Again, following General Colin Powell's rules. This is what I know. If you fly aircraft in at this altitude, they have these systems which can knock them out. If you put troops on the ground or fly aircraft without taking out these air defense systems, if you go in at this altitude, they're going to take you down. I suggest that you come in at this altitude. So we have a closer relationship on the military side to the warfighters, and I'm talking about our operational forces in the Army, Navy, Marine, Coast Guard, and so forth, Air Force. And so I think that's where that disconnect is. And most of the time, if you don't, and one other thing General Powell said, he would, if he disagreed with the direction leadership was taken, he tried to tell them why he disagreed, but if they
Right.
still wanted to go in that direction, he'd salute and then carry it out, give 110% as if it was his own effort. So I
And
think that's that
yeah,
military
right.
attitude.
And we've seen that just recently, Captain Gill, with what happened in Afghanistan. It seemed as if General Milley and Secretary Blinken, if I got his name correctly, who was a very close friend of Colin Powell, did not necessarily agree with what happened, what President Biden wanted to do in Afghanistan, but they executed it still because he is the commander in chief. Let me just ask you this. What do you think will be, I know people talk about the WMDs and his talk before the UN. What do you think will be his ultimate legacy?
Oh, I think greatness. I think that this will be a small blemish to, the 2003. I think people will remember more, because he broke a lot of barriers. When I came in the military, if you wanted to make general or admiral, you really, to have an advantage, had to have gone to a service academy, West Point,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Annapolis. He went through
Mm-hmm.
the ROTC program.
Right. Right.
Mm.
And so he broke just that barrier that you don't have to. We used to tease them ring knockers. They had the academy rings, and so the rest
Uh,
said, "Oh, you ring knockers!" And they teased us too. And
uh,
and so he broke records there. And then I think the way he carried himself,
mm-hmm.
his integrity. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
he was not known as a backstabber. He was that
Mm-hmm.
rare leader that not only, and I found you don't run into it very often, but people you'll follow into hell if necessary because
Yeah.
they're
Mm.
inspired. Their leadership is inspired. You believe their focus is on the mission and not on trying to make themselves look good, and that he cares for the people working for him. And I know Karen had asked me, she said, Gail, did you ever meet Colin Powell? And I said, no. I said, he came to the Naval War College when I was there, and he was working for Caspar Weinberger. And I just kind of
Oh.
stood off in the corner just staring at him. I didn't, he wasn't as famous as he later became, but it was still rare to see a senior African American officer. And, so I was just staring and trying not to be too obnoxious about it.
That reminds me of, and I know Karen has an additional question, but one of my favorite movies is A Soldier Story.
Yes.
And I can't think of his name. He's a captain in the Marine Corps. We take that for
Oh,
granted.
Caesar.
Yeah, but
Adolf
Adolf Caesar,
Caesar.
but Harold Rollins, who I
Oh,
think that's his name,
yes.
who played the
Yes.
captain
Mm-hmm.
in, and we take for granted. I dated a captain in the service once, and we take it for granted that at one time it was a big deal to see a captain. I remember the gentleman exercising and the white guy going, "What's wrong with y'all? Have you never seen a Negro captain?" And he goes, and the guy goes, "No, sir, have you, sir?" So so I can understand you stare, and I think about that movie and how they're staring at how Howard Rollins as he's coming on base. So Karen, I
Yeah.
know you had a question.
Of all the 13 rules that General Powell he talks about, and I hope we'll get a chance to go over them today. What is your favorite? Because I can tell you mine. One is be
I think
mad
it's
and get over it.
Get
That's
over it.
one of I like.
I think it's the one, about, argue, tell them what why you want to go in a certain direction, but if not, salute and give it your all as if it was your idea.
Mm.
That's my favorite, because I sometimes think, particularly with the arrogance of the young, we think we know it all and we don't know
Mm-hmm.
why they want to do something a certain way. And I early in my career, I do the the black girl thing and the
Let's not forget the head bobbing and weaving all that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then I didn't understand why my bosses never wanted to listen to me. I go, this is all messed up. That's not how I want to do it.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I learned, early on that, you might not always be right. Your bosses might be right. It's kind of like the attitude you have with your parents. The older you get, the smarter they get.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
That always. And so what I found, that just made me dig down deeper if I disagreed with something, and to how to present it better. And once I did that and took Colin Powell's advice, then I'd say most of the time when I suggested something, it was adopted.
Hmm,
But
okay.
no more.
Well, mine is it's not as bad as you think. It will look better in the morning, because that goes with the Bible verse. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy come in the
Comes in the
morning.
morning.
And that's the first one that he had. And also avoid having your ego to close to your position. That when your position falls, your ego goes with it. One of the things that I'm hearing a lot this week is how humble he was.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I have learned, as I'm entering into this acting field, is a lot of people like to hear themselves talk, and they think better of them than they are. And that, God rewards praise and humbleness, I believe. And to not get too big for your britches, and to speak to everyone, no matter what. I just went to New York, and whenever I go to a hotel, I always make sure I speak to the people who are cleaning the rooms, the janitors, and they always look surprised when I say hello or ask them how their day is. And it shows to me that the people who are staying there are not doing the same. But we're all equal. Yeah, everybody got a job. Everybody breathes. Everybody goes to the restroom, and to treat everyone with equality and value, and that's what I got from him.
I
Um,
think so too, because he came up in the generation, and I did too, in the tail end, where when you're teaching people, you often curse them out. When they're junior, like, a lot of it's theatrical. And I was part of that, and I was notorious, especially when I was teaching at the intelligence training school. But the students
wow.
usually, once they figure that out, and that you're going to give them good grades, but you're going to make them suffer. How do you know that? Have you checked here? Have you checked this? And blah blah blah. And part of that was to toughen them up. But
Right, right.
Colin Powell was of a different mind. He showed a different way, that you didn't have to be in teaching people and inspiring people. You didn't have to scream and yell at them. Maybe when they're going through their basic training. It would be interesting to know what he thought about training people initially. When you first
Uh-huh.
come in the service, breaking, the Marines notoriously break you down and build you
Hmm.
back up in the image of a Marine. So it would be interesting to see how he felt about that. But you always thought, and even when he was there, I saw a lot of admirals and generals and senior government and State Department, people come through the Navy War College when I was there. And, some of them were very, very, just a minority, very arrogant. But when General Colin Powell came in, he was quietly authoritative.
Mm.
I like that. I
You
like that.
knew he was somebody important, and he had an important job, but he wasn't where his demeanor wasn't like
Yes,
I felt like if I had wanted to go up and ask him some questions, he would have been very receptive to it.
I love that. I love that. Well, Captain Gale, and if I can just tell one more Colin Powell story. Someone did a book, I think it was Denzel, did a book on leadership or someone, they have these books where they ask different people different things. And he talked about growing up, and he grew up in a neighborhood where all of his family grew up, his aunts and cousins. And they said if you ever did anything in school, by the time you got home, everybody knew about it. And he said the internet didn't have anything on the auntnet.
That's right.
I wish
That's
I could
right.
remember what this. And he said by the time he got home, everybody in the neighborhood knew what he was doing, and they would all gather and talk and he would be like, "Just beat me already." But that was the foundation that he came from, and he never forgot that. And he never. And we lost a hero this week. We lost a
We
giant.
have.
We really did. And, I was sorry that I understood why he didn't want to run for president. I was sorry he didn't. By the time you do all that he had done, I'm sure, he and his family, because it's very hard. One of the things they don't cover enough, they did have a show years ago called Army Wives. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just the service
I
member
remember
that's in the
that.
Yep.
service, it's the
Yep.
whole family.
Family.
And
That's
there's
right.
tremendous sacrifices. Sometimes it's funny. I know, like when I was at the Naval War College, we were getting ready to leave town or leave the country to go do some war games in the Philippines. And so one of my coworkers came in and he was all huffy. And he's normally very cheerful. I said, "Hey, Cece, what's going on?" He says, "I got to take my wife out to dinner 4 or 5 times before I go because she thinks I'm going to go play." And so she says she's stuck by herself with all the kids and household stuff. So I'd better pamper her before I go. And talking to the wives, they said as soon as the husband leaves, the kid falls out of the tree and breaks an arm. The washer and dryer breaks, and
Everything.
so they got to move, and the wife has got to do everything. So to do that for nearly 30 years or more, the family and the kids having to, I talk with families where they had to pull their kids out of high school in their senior
Hmm.
year
Mm-hmm.
as
Right.
part of the move. If they didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
family or friend that they could
Mm-hmm.
leave the child with so that they could finish school. So
Right.
tremendous sacrifices for the entire family. It's a family
Exactly.
job
And
to make a career in the military.
there was one thing. His beloved Alma did not want him to run, but at the very end, he said, because the question was asked, "Who is the greatest person that you know?" And he said,
Mm-hmm.
"My wife." So
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they had such a loving relationship, and we all know, I mean, in marriages, you're gonna have the good and the bad, and sometimes ugly.
Ugly.
But I think with their marriage, it was a true partnership. And so I know that we're sending prayers out to Alma, his children, his grandchildren, and the entire military community, because Colin Powell was a man that everybody really respected and admired. And even though, as I posted earlier, everyone's gonna have to live that dash. The time you come into this world,
I
the time
believe.
you leave eternity. But what's in that dash, right? And so he
Exactly.
truly lived his dash. And this is a reminder for all of us to know how are you living your dash today? Are you living it with integrity? Are you living it with humility? Are you living it with living to your best life? Because all of us are going to leave here one day.
One
And
day.
we hope that one day that someone can say, "Oh, I knew Captain Gail Harris. She was a
Mm-hmm.
woman of integrity. She was funny. I loved her, but she did her business. I knew Kim Coleman, funny, actress, fellow EGOT winner, and I knew Kay Renee. Kay Renee, no one, everybody know about Kay Renee. 3 letter words, DDW. So there you go. So
I'm going to say
live.
before I forget, it's based on this. When I was in the military, I never heard anybody say one bad word about Colin Powell.
There you go.
Very
That speaks
unusual.
volumes. That speaks
Very
volumes in
unusual.
itself. That speaks
Well,
volumes in itself. So, we
that
just,
I won't mention the person who did say something bad about
well,
him, but
we ain't gonna worry about him. I mean, come on now.
that you know,
we,
but that's why
we
you were twice impeached.
we'll just say
So
44. Was it the 44? What was his
45.
number? 45. Thank you.
45. But
45. That's
we
all
know
we got to
Captain
say.
Gale's not going to get into the weeds with that. But
No,
Captain
we
Gale,
not.
we talked a lot about Colin Powell today, but I just want to salute you. Thank you for your service.
Yes.
It seems as if when talking to you, you're still in the service because you have so
Yes.
much knowledge. When I talk,
Absolutely.
when you speak, I feel like I'm in a class, and
Yeah.
I'm. But so we just want to salute you for your service and also
Absolutely.
commend you for going back to Juilliard. Uh, and doing that, I saw your desk. It looked like Ida had come in there, but I know you're a military person. I know it got straightened real quick. I know how
Yeah,
the military.
my
I
hair's
grew up with the
getting
Marines,
wider and wider.
so I salute you for that. I salute you for everything, and thank you so much for spending some of your Saturday with us. And
And
happy holidays. We're in the happy
absolutely.
holidays to you. If we do not
We
speak to
are.
you,
And
Yeah.
Gail, we're gonna have you come back for Women's History Month and Black History Month. So just get ready.
Hey, I'll always happy to help. And you ladies have an awesome weekend.
You
thank
too,
you so
sweetie. I
much.
love you dearly, sweetie. Thanks
All
again.
right. Bye
God
bye.
bless you. God bless you.
Bye.
I feel so much
Oh,
smarter after I speak to her.
okay. That was a
I
master
feel.
class. See, that's
Yeah,
what we need to have, a
both
master
times that she
class.
was with us, it was a master class. I'm like,
Amen.
am I supposed to be hearing some of this?
But see,
Do I be?
we get the exclusive, Kim. Now come
Yes,
on now.
yes, yes. Well, again, our condolences to Colin
Yes,
Powell's family, and
yes,
that was I was in New York and getting ready to get on a plane,
I
and I
know.
heard that, and I was
Yeah,
just kind of like, wow, that
yeah.
that hit me. So Godspeed, and I will be watching the funeral. I'm a funeral watcher. I watch especially the big ones. So I think Aretha
I
Franklin's funeral just ended about an hour ago.
I was getting ready to say, Kim. Of all the celebrations of life I've seen and attended, the Queen of Soul tops them all. And you're
But
right.
look,
It just
how
ended, right?
how much would you have had to pay for all of that entertainment? Stevie
A lot.
Wonder, Fantasia, Jennifer Hudson, the
She had
Clarksons,
money.
the Shirley
She had
Caesar.
she had money
Oh, I know she had money. What I'm saying is that was a concert.
in of itself. But
That was
again,
entertainment.
she was the Queen of Soul.
She
So when you're the
was.
Queen of the Soul, excuse me, Queen of Soul, you gonna be there.
Yeah,
Money is no object. You are
right.
going to be there to
Gladys
say
Knight, Shaka Khan.
you're going to be there to say what,
Yes,
Kim?
yes,
I was there
yeah,
at the
yes.
Queen of Soul celebration of life. End of
10 and a
story.
half hours.
I know. I saw it. I'm
It was
telling you. I
wonderful.
know. I
I
saw
watched the whole
it.
thing.
I watched the
Like I
whole
said, it just ended
thing.
about an hour ago. You know what my question was, and I can never get an answer to this.
What?
How long? One day I'm gonna find out the answer. Was Martin Luther King's funeral? I
You know what
wonder.
we need. You know what we need to have. We need to find out from the Reverend Bernice King. That's what we need to get. We need to get Bernice
Well, she
King.
was just a baby.
I know,
She
but
was 6 or 5 or something
you
like
could
that.
you'd be amazed how much you remember. So we
Yeah,
need to.
yeah. But I always want to
That's
know
on
how
the
long was that
list.
funeral? If everybody,
That's
because
on
Rosa
the to
Parks'
do.
funeral was 6 hours.
Yeah.
And the only reason,
Well,
yeah,
when you're a person of prominence,
yeah,
especially in the black community. Now, I don't know about any other community, but in the black community, folks want to make sure that they get their due. And so
mm-hmm.
I guess I have no problem with
Oh,
that.
I have no problem. Yeah,
It's just that, of course, there's always memes about, the length of funerals. Uh, and I'm
Yeah.
sure if they were alive, they'd be like, God dog it. Because I mean, good example, my first spiritual mom, the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. I know
Oh
I was
yeah. Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
long one. Even if she
Yeah.
were alive, she said, God, let's end this. Okay. But
Yeah, we love to give, big celebrations like the
we
one in
do.
Imitation of Life. That lady
Yes.
worried more about her funeral than she did about living. She said,
Hello.
she had what too? The horses
She
and the
did.
carriage.
She did. And that's
Uh,
a good movie, by the way, y'all. If y'all want to have it's going to rain tomorrow. So if you get a chance to rent Imitation Life, go ahead, rent Imitation Life. It's
the
a good
original
movie.
or the one in color?
Both.
Okay. Okay. I
Both.
love both too. We didn't
Yes.
really veered off. Anyway,
We have.
welcome to Candid Conversation. But there was a candid conversation. It's a
That's right.
candid conversation. We love to have fun too.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about. We're going to do a little tea here. Let's sip a little tea. Sip your little tea there.
Let me sip my tea.
Let's talk about what happened with Meghan McCain this week.
Mm.
We are
Yeah.
both watchers, avid watchers of The View.
Yes, we
Whatever
are.
Karen said we need to talk, I'm like, no, we did doing 10 and 11. Though, because my brother loved to call me at 10 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm watching The View. So, so we are avid watchers of The View with the guests, the hosts of Whoopi Goldberg, Sonny Hostin, Joy
Claire, Joy
Behar,
Bear, Sarah
Sarah
Haynes,
Haynes,
and
on
week
occasion,
frequent
Anna
guest
Navarro.
Anna Navarro.
Now,
Yes.
now, before we dip into Meghan McCain, what did you think of Condoleezza Rice's appearance this week?
You know, there's been some tea and some tea about Condi. Um, I thought she did well. There, I didn't see the whole interview. I saw snippets, but what I did see, Sonny was trying to talk down to her, and Condi wasn't having that. Now I'll give Condi all that because there's some. I mean, again, despite the politics of her, for her to do what she has done, I give her
Mm-hmm.
kudos for that. Let's just call it, even though
Mm-hmm.
she's not in my affiliate party, but she's a strong. Any black woman, regardless if you're Democrat or Republican, you better be a strong black woman. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
to deal with. You have to deal with. With that being
Mm-hmm.
said, some things that she said I did not agree, but her overall performance, I give it a B plus. If I had to
Okay.
grade it, I would give her a B plus. Because again, when you're on the View, and I don't know, one day we may be on the View as
We
guests
will.
one
We
day,
will.
and
We will.
you gotta deal with the, oh my God, this is Whoopi. Oh my, this is a EGOT, right? Oh my God, this is Sarah Haynes. You know,
Mm-hmm.
oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, Joy Behar, Sonny, Anna Navarro. These are women that we've watched. So once you
Mm-hmm.
get over that, then you can talk about what you're there to talk about. So, as I said, I really feel that Condoleezza stood her ground. There are some things I just didn't agree upon, but will she come back to the View? I don't know. That's
Well,
up in the air.
there are two things that I'd like to hit on with her appearance, and we have about 15 more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The first one being she talked about the insurrection and how Congress and the president have to move on, deal with what's going on in the insurrection, but people really want to talk about kitchen table issues. And my issue with this is we have to deal with we can do both and right.
Mm-hmm.
Being
Mm-hmm.
president and being a part of Congress is not just working on one issue,
Right. They
is
work on
working on
multiple
multiple of
issues.
issues. And as
Exactly.
much as Republicans want to sweep this under the rug, the coup,
Can't.
because the more we're finding out about this, the worse it looks. So if we don't
Right.
figure out what's those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it.
That's
That's why
right.
the Jewish people always talk about the Holocaust.
They
That's why
do.
we want to talk about slavery.
Slavery. Thank you.
Right. And Jim Crow and everything else that has happened to black people in this country is
Right.
because the insurrection we have to deal with that and find out what happened. Because guess what? If we don't and it's repeated, there won't be no kitchen table.
They won't.
There won't be no kitchen table.
Not at all.
And the things, you all know I watch CNN all the time. And the things that have come out about what is going on behind the scenes during this insurrection and the things that he tried to do, and even so much as Mike Pence calling the ex vice president Dan Quayle, saying how could he involve himself in overturning this, and what could he do? And Dan Quayle, who's as dumb as a rock, had to tell him there's nothing you can do. So in the last minute, even Mike Pence, who they were saying they were going to hang, was trying to do this. So that was my first thing. The other thing is this. When she talked about critical race theory, and she said we can't have white kids feeling guilty, we can't have 7 years. First of all, critical race theory is not taught in grade schools, as far as I know. It's taught in college, and that reminds me, Kay, we need to find someone who knows about critical race theory and have them on the show sometime next year.
I agree.
I was taught about slavery the first time that I remember when Roots came on. So that means I was 9 years old.
That's right.
I was 9 years old.
That's right.
And my classmates, I went to a school that was predominantly white. And as far as I know, everybody's cool. And I was also taught about the Holocaust when the movie with Meryl Streep came on, and I was in 5th or 6th grade. And I was taught, and it is taught in Germany. They take kids to Auschwitz or to other concentration camps. Mm-hmm. So you can teach slavery in an appropriate manner without people feeling bad that they were that their ancestors were slaves or their ancestors owned slaves. Mm-hmm. So this, whatever she was taught, I really don't think people understand what critical race theory is, and I really think there needs to be more conversations about that. So that was my problem with Condoleezza Rice.
Well, and I said I give her B+. She didn't get an A, but she held her ground.
Yeah,
as I would hope she would. But there are certain things that she said I was just like, okay, where is this coming from? Because unfortunately, as long as last I checked, she doesn't have children. See, when you don't have children and you talk about critical race theory, you may be an auntie, but when you have, especially if you have a black child, a black son, given what the state of our climate is, when it relates to race and black men, I was very surprised of her making that statement. And she was raised in the South. See, that's another thing. So, again.
Well, she, when she talks about her upbringing, which she did, as she's talked about in the past, she was, she went to school with one of the 4 little girls that were bombed. One of those little girls went to her school, was her classmate. But she wasn't one of the children who was in that park. Her parents did not allow her, when all the kids got hosed down. She was raised in a different mindset.
Apparently.
I think, kind of upper class. You know what I'm talking about. Those blacks that money allowed them maybe to have a certain status that people without money could not do. That's the way I see it.
But even then, society and history will have taught you. I don't care how much money you made in that time. Other ethnic backgrounds looked at you in a different way. Now,
well, she always said her parents knew that she couldn't sit at the lunch counter, but they always believed that she could be president of the United States. That was the mindset. So
okay. But now with that being said, ladies and gents, now we talk about The View and Miss Meghan McCain. As all of y'all know, unless you've been under a rock, she came out with an audio memoir entitled Bad Republican. Now, in this audio memoir, the excerpt came out earlier this week about how she was treated at The View. It was very toxic. And the fact that she suffered after she had her daughter Liberty, she suffered from postpartum anxiety, which is different from postpartum depression. And that's it's a symptom, unfortunately, that women after childbirth, they can experience, and it's not easy. But she talks about how one of the co-hosts, Joy Behar, was really just didn't care about her. And there was a snippet. I wish we could pull that, but
yeah,
of which
I'm learning how to do that.
We're getting there, right? When Megan says, I thought you missed me. And Joy came out and said, I don't.
I
And
didn't.
I'm sure I didn't. And I'm sure I remember seeing
I
that.
remember
I was
that. Yeah, I
like,
remember that because I was
damn.
cracking up. I was cracking
I said, so
up.
is she serious or is she joking? She was serious. And again, let me just say this before we get started on the topic. I do not condone abuse. None, I don't, and I will say this and speak for my podcasting sister. We don't condone abuse.
Mm-mm.
I don't care what type of abuse it is, mental, physical, uh, financial, emotional. We don't condone that. However, it's unfortunate that Megan, in her 4 years at The View, she was very hypocritical and sometimes very controversial in who when guests came on. She was very antagonistic. And it's funny now that it was on the receiving end. She wants to play victim. And that to me, that's a problem. Because to me, it's like the chickens are now coming home to roost. And and even though the one that really bothers me, she talked about how people will come on, write these tell all books. And now she's left The View and she's writing this tell all book. So that's my take. I hope that honestly that Megan gets the help that she needs to clear out all the damage and the garbage. But the one thing, if you want to heal, and that's what if you're addicted to drugs, whatever, you've got to take some accountability and responsibility. And that's what I have not seen since when Megan was on The View. She never took responsibility for her actions. So if you can't take responsibility for your own actions, don't play victim when things come back a boomerang and have that boomerang effect. So that's all I'm going to say on that subject.
As we are in Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I did share that I was in a domestic violence situation.
Mm-hmm.
Many times, people who exude bullying are
Mm-hmm.
narcissistic people
Oh, yes.
because they make everything about them.
Yes.
But also, as I noticed in my own relationship, and I've noticed in others, is that they play victim.
Absolutely.
So it seems as if the bullying they do, they justify it. And then they turn it around and say, oh, woe is me.
Right.
If you look, and I looked at pretty much every View episode since Megan started, she was a bully.
Mm-hmm.
She also bullied at times, and I know you noticed this, Kay Renee, the audience.
Oh,
She would tell
yes.
them, oh, be quiet. Oh, shut up. One senator was on there who was running for president. I can't think of his name. She said to him, such and such has the same view as him, and he's a lot more compelling than you are. I remember that vividly because I remember saying to myself, if you say that to the wrong person, you're going to get slapped. One time, Joy Behar was saying to her, I'm talking. And she said, and they did a parody of this on The View. And she said, you get paid to hear me talk. And you can go look it up on the internet. She
Oh,
goes,
I
you get
know.
paid to hear me talk. And
And
then Whoopi went to Joy, and Joy said, I really don't know what to say right now. And then they did a parody of it on The View that Saturday.
I mean,
And
and you think about what Whoopi. There was a episode where Whoopi just said, "Be
girl, would you
quiet,"
shut
and when
up? I would
and
never
would
get
you
that.
just shut up? And
Yeah.
when Whoopi spoke like that, it was like Celie was coming out. Say, "God dog it, I
And
told
she
you to shut
because
up."
she was over talking, and she
She
was saying,
was.
because Whoopi was trying to get, which is Whoopi's
Um,
job, to get
she's a
control
moderator.
of the thing, and she
Exactly.
just kept talking and talking and talking, and then she said, girl, would you shut up? Because she was being disrespectful. So again,
Exactly.
a narcissistic person, and let me just say this. And I know that Megan has worked at MSNBC, she's worked at
Mm-hmm.
Fox, she has made her bones, but make no mistake about it. If she was acting, if Sarah Haynes, Sonny Hostin, and the rest of those women acted like that, they would be
They'd be
gone.
gone. That's right.
Please. Because I remember when she was acting up, it was one time she was acting up. Maybe it was a time Whoopi told her to shut up. And a bunch of people, Jamel Hill, Simone Sanders, they were
All
like,
of them.
girl, and Joy Reid, they were like, girl, because people would love to be on that panel.
Hmm.
Girl, you need to thank your lucky stars that your father John McCain, because us who even white women, it ain't just about black people. Is even white women, they know they would be gone.
That's right.
So
That's right.
that goes in the thing we were talking about, Colin Powell. Don't get too big for your bridges. Is it britches? Britches?
Britches, britches.
Don't get so, well, I'm this and I'm that, because, she comes from money, she comes from privilege, but you need to be humble in this life because you don't know the stock market could crash and we all lose all our money.
Well,
You
see,
don't,
the
nothing is
thing about it
guaranteed.
is there's a common theme, and it's one word: ego. And we
Mm-hmm.
know what ego stands for. If you don't know, let me break it down to you. Ego stands for edging God out. So when
Mm.
you have an ego,
Mm.
let me say it again: edging God out. So, ladies and gents, please learn to subjugate your ego at times. Because when you don't subjugate your ego, that's when things can go and run amok.
You you
So,
know, yeah, yeah. Karen, I hope I can tie this in. I was watching later on this year, um Frances McDormand, who's a three-time Oscar winner,
mm-hmm.
and Denzel are releasing Macbeth.
I know.
And they were on a panel a few weeks ago to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And Frances McDormand is married to one of the Coen brothers, who's one of the most successful directors. She
Mm-hmm.
is a three-time Oscar winner,
Mm-hmm.
and a producer, one critic, one Tonys and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes out in these sandals, look like Birkenstocks, and this purse, no name, as far as I could see. So in the middle of the conversation, no makeup, hair tousled. In the middle of the conversation, her phone rings and she pulls out this phone and it's a flip phone. And Denzel looks at her and he said, I like that phone. And it just put it in perspective. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? Is that there was no pretense about her. There
Right.
was no air of arrogance. This woman is the epitome of what Hollywood of and gay Tony, whatever. And she was just as she wanted to give the actors who were no names their due. She had put aside her ego. And I learned so much just by watching her, the person that, who where I want to be. And I'm just like, humbleness, humbleness. So, I hope that what people get out of this is be humble. Nothing is guaranteed in this life.
Oh,
Therefore, by the grace of God, there go I. Money or fame does not. I mean, look at Alec Baldwin. He got all the money and all the fame. And look, God bless him. It's not his fault. But now he has to deal with this.
right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you never know what what can happen. So
Because
I hope that
if you don't become humble, guess what will happen though? Life experience will humble you, whether you want to or
bingo,
not.
bingo. So, ladies and gentlemen, we just wanted to talk about that this week. Kay and I have been chomping at the bit. We want to
You had no
talk about that.
idea. Well, before we leave, I gotta give a nugget, and this nugget is in honor of General Colin Powell, which reads: There are no secrets to success. It is a result of preparation, hard work, and
Mm-hmm.
learning from failure. And this
Yes,
just happy Saturday, y'all.
yes.
Hashtag preparation, hard work
Mm-hmm.
works.
Yes. As I say, pray, praise, and push. We also want to say Kay Renee and I will not be airing our show. We're going to re-air the domestic violence show next week. But we just want to say this year this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We want to thank Kim Hirschman for the wonderful show. We got more views
Yes.
last week
Yay.
because people. So hopefully, if we can save one life, and those who have not watched that show, it was very informative about the BRCA
Yes.
gene,
BRCA
especially in
dream.
African American women. Go get your
Yes.
mammograms. It is safe.
Yes,
Put your
please do.
mask on. I'm speaking to myself, and go get your mammogram and any other test that you need. The colon, the colonoscopy,
Colonoscopy. Get
any
that
of those
done.
tests.
Yes.
I know a lot of people
Yes.
forego their tests during COVID, and that's understandable. But
Right.
I went to the doctor the other day, and
Yep.
they
Very
they
good.
do things safely. So do that. Also, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. If you are in a
Yes.
domestic violence situation, please go get help. Please go get help. The domestic violence hotline is there. It's 1-800-799-7233. That's 1-800-79-SAFE. So we want you all to be safe. Anything else that we have? And
Before we
art show,
close,
art.
today is National Make a Difference. As
Oh,
our
yeah.
beloved guest,
Yes.
Captain Gail Harris, has made and continue to make a difference. As the one we honor today, General Colin Powell has made a difference. Guess what, ladies and gents? You can make a difference. So
Yes.
take this day, this beautiful day that God has brought us, and make a difference.
Yes. Dr. King said, not everybody can be famous, but everybody can serve. You don't need a degree, you don't need a special certificate. Everyone can serve. So find a way to serve. Kay Renee will be on Art Show this week, Art Sims. And coming in 2 weeks, we will have the Grand Poobah here. He
Yes.
will make a special appearance on Saturday morning here at
Yes.
Kandid Conversations with K and K. So we look forward to that. Please check him out on his show, Art Chat Daddy Sims, Monday through Wednesday at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. You all pray for me. This is the last week of rehearsal for the show that I'm in. Streetcar Named Desire, Stella. And we open on Thursday. So we are trying to get through this. We had a wonderful rehearsal last night and late. So did you all pray for me? And keep praising, and pushing. We'll see you all in 2 weeks. We'll have a repeat show next week. Love you all to death. God bless. And we're out.
Bye.